The LPGA Tour had Caitlin Clark play. And the LPGA, fans, well, the event was taken over by the ominous crowd that made sure to go get angry at everything Caitlin Clark did and everything Caitlin Clark does and was ever going to do.
There are moments in sports when one athlete unexpectedly steps into a new space and the entire atmosphere shifts. That is exactly what happened the moment Caitlin Clark walked into the LPGA event. It was supposed to be a simple guest appearance, a friendly crossover moment between basketball and golf. Instead, it turned into something much bigger, something that exposed a deep divide inside the world of women's sports. What started as a light-hearted invitation became a catalyst for conversations about unity, jealousy, growth, and the future of female athletes. From the minute Clark arrived, the crowd energy exploded. Fans who normally never cared about golf were suddenly lined up early, some carrying signs, others wearing jerseys, all waiting to see a player they had only watched on the basketball court. It was clear that Clark brought something rare, a magnetic pull that could cross boundaries and unite different fan bases. And the LPGA saw this instantly. They embraced her warmly, treating her not just as a guest, but as a spark that could illuminate a wider spotlight on their sport. But while the LPGA celebrated, another league was watching, and their reaction could not have been more different. Inside the WNBA, frustration simmered. Some players and supporters did not like seeing Clark's popularity explode in another sport, especially when many of their veterans had fought for recognition for years without receiving the same level of attention. To them, Clark's presence looked less like a positive crossover moment and more like a threat invading their territory. This contrast set the stage for a rivalry that no one predicted. One league stood with open arms, ready to welcome new viewers and embrace growth. The other stood with crossed arms, hesitant, defensive, and uneasy about how quickly the spotlight was shifting. As the story unfolds, the question becomes bigger than Clark herself. It becomes a question about how women's sports should grow and who gets to lead that growth. When Caitlin Clark walked onto that LPGA course, the reaction was instant and overwhelming. The atmosphere felt more like a championship basketball game than a golf event. Crowds lined the ropes, phones were raised, kids were jumping to get a better look. There was laughter, excitement, and a sense that something special was happening. This was not just about golf anymore. This was about a new kind of spotlight shining across women's sports. And the LPGA recognized that immediately. Instead of worrying about tradition or questioning why a basketball star was suddenly attracting golf fans, they embraced the moment. LPGA players came over smiling, cracking jokes, taking photos, and even thanking Clark for being there. They understood the opportunity, a wave of interest that could bring thousands of new eyes to their tournaments. They knew that a star like Clark does not just bring fans, she brings momentum. For years, the LPGA has battled for visibility in a crowded sports world. They have extraordinary talents, world-class competitors, and dramatic storylines. Yet they rarely get the attention those things deserve. So when Clark stepped in and suddenly the stands were overflowing, the league did not hesitate. They celebrated her presence because they saw the bigger picture. They saw growth. Nelly Korda, one of the faces of modern golf, summed it up perfectly when she called Clark a breath of fresh air. She understood that Clark was not taking anything away from golf. She was giving something to it, something priceless. She was bringing in fans who had never watched a golf event in their lives. She was showing young girls that one athlete can uplift an entire category of sports. But the excitement did not stop with the players. The LPGA crowd itself transformed the event into a celebration. Fans stayed long after the action ended, talking, smiling, soaking in a moment that felt historic. They were not just watching golf. They were witnessing a shift in how women's sports can grow when unity outweighs insecurity. For the LPGA, this was simple. Why reject a star who can elevate everyone? Why close doors when opening them brings opportunity? Clark was not a threat, she was a boost. And the LPGA made that clear by welcoming her with both arms open, proving that collaboration can create powerful results. While the LPGA celebrated Caitlin Clark like a gift, The reaction within the WNBA could not have been more different. Instead of excitement, there was tension. Instead of appreciation for what Clark brought to women's sports, there were sharp comments, defensive attitudes, and a sense of unease spreading through the league. It felt as though Clark's success, instead of being seen as a rising tide that lifts all boats, was interpreted as a spotlight that might overshadow others. From the moment Clark entered the WNBA, the mood was complicated. She sold out arenas, brought new sponsors, skyrocketed TV ratings, and drew in fans who had never watched women's basketball before. Yet, instead of being embraced, she often found herself at the center of negativity. Some veterans felt her attention came too quickly. Others claimed her fans were not real supporters. And a few even suggested the media cared more about her story than about the league itself. This mindset created a divide. It was as if the WNBA saw Clark not as an opportunity, but as a rival. And that feeling only grew when the LPGA publicly praised her. That praise exposed something deeper, an insecurity that many fans had sensed for months. While golf openly said, "Thank you for bringing new energy," basketball had players subtly saying, "We were fine without you." This contrast became even more obvious as the LPGA event went viral. Everywhere you looked online, fans were celebrating Clark's impact. They praised how she filled golf stands, how she interacted with kids, how she lifted another sport without asking for anything in return. And that online praise poured gasoline on the frustration already brewing in the WNBA. Many WNBA players saw this as proof that Clark's influence stretched far beyond basketball. To them, it felt like a threat, because if one athlete can generate this level of attention across multiple sports, where does that leave the veterans who have fought for recognition for so many years? But this reaction reveals a crucial issue. The WNBA has always fought hard for visibility, for respect, and for consistent support. So when Clark arrived and instantly became the face of women's sports in the eyes of many new fans, it struck a nerve. Some interpreted it as disrespect toward the foundation built before her. Others saw it as media favoritism, and some simply felt overshadowed. Yet the irony is hard to ignore. The very attention the WNBA has been chasing for decades is now flowing into women's sports. And instead of embracing it, many players seem guarded, defensive, and unwilling to share the spotlight. This tension, this unease, this pushback is shaping the narrative around the WNBA. And whether intentional or not, it is creating barriers at a time when the league could be thriving alongside Clark's rise instead of resisting it. As the LPGA footage spread across social media, fans did something unexpected. They did not just celebrate Caitlin Clark's appearance, they compared it directly with how the WNBA had been treating her. Clip after clip went viral, showing LPGA golfers smiling, hugging, joking, and genuinely enjoying Clark's presence. Then fans placed those moments beside WNBA interactions that felt cold, dismissive, or tense. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Comment sections filled instantly. People wrote that the LPGA treated Clark like a star, while the WNBA treated her like a problem. Others pointed out how golfers showed gratitude for the extra attention, while certain basketball voices seemed bothered by it. The online debate became a mirror, reflecting a truth that had been growing for months. Clark was being embraced by one league and questioned by another. The reaction from golf fans was overwhelmingly positive. They posted photos, shared videos of Clark laughing with players, and praised the LPGA for being open-minded. They loved how the golfers did not feel threatened. They understood that Clark was helping shine a brighter light on women's sports. For them, unity mattered more than ego. Basketball fans, on the other hand, were divided. Some defended the WNBA stance, saying veterans deserved more credit and attention. But many others criticized the negativity. They argued that Clark brought in unprecedented viewership, sponsorships, and excitement. They questioned why any league would reject someone who lifted the entire sport. And as they compared the two reactions, a narrative formed that the WNBA was pushing away the very growth it had been fighting for. This online storm only intensified when mainstream personalities started weighing in. Sports commentators noted the contrast on national TV. Influencers uploaded reaction videos calling the LPGA gracious and the WNBA stubborn. Even casual fans were shocked to see how differently Clark was treated. They were not experts, but they could see the difference in body language, smiles, and energy. The debate soon became bigger than Clark. It became a debate about culture. One league seemed to celebrate progress, while the other seemed stuck defending its hierarchy. One league saw Clark as a unifying force, while the other saw her as an outsider disrupting the balance. And in that divide, fans realized something important. Clark was not the cause of the tension. She was the spotlight revealing it. Her presence exposed issues that had been simmering beneath the surface for years. And as the world watched, the question became harder to ignore. Why was one league moving forward with joy, while another was holding on to resentment? On the ground at the LPGA event, the energy around Caitlin Clark was impossible to miss. Everywhere she walked, people followed. Parents lifted their kids onto their shoulders just to catch a glimpse. Older fans who usually watched quietly were suddenly animated, chatting, laughing, and pointing with excitement. It felt like a festival, a shared moment that brought people together in a way few athletes ever could. Clark herself handled it with complete ease. She smiled, shook hands, posed for pictures, and talked to young fans as if she had known them for years. She blended into the environment with the kind of natural grace that many celebrities struggle to show. She was not trying to outshine the golfers or steal attention. She was simply being herself. Yet that was enough to elevate the atmosphere in a way everyone could feel. LPGA players responded to that warmth immediately. They invited her into conversations, asked playful questions, and made her part of the moment instead of treating her like an outsider. Their reactions felt authentic, not staged. They saw Clark as a person who could help broaden the reach of their sport, and they made room for her with genuine happiness. For them, she was not competition. She was a connection to a new audience. That connection showed clearly when the crowds cheered every time Clark picked up a club. Even when her shots were not perfect, people clapped and encouraged her. It was clear they were not there to judge her skill. They were there because they cared about her journey. She had become a symbol of possibility, a reminder that women's sports can grow stronger when they support each other across boundaries. Even LPGA officials noticed the shift. They watched as attendance swelled, as media coverage expanded, and as fans interacted in ways that created a new level of excitement. It felt like a turning point. It felt like proof that women's sports can expand not by isolating stars, but by sharing them, celebrating them, and letting their influence lift new spaces. And while the day ended with smiles, autographs, and a sense of unity, something else lingered in the background. Clark's effortless connection with the LPGA and the undeniable joy she brought to their event left many wondering why those same doors of acceptance seemed so tightly closed within her own league. In the months that followed, Reba found herself living in two different worlds at the same time. There was the outer world, the one full of cameras, concerts, lights, and fans. Then there was the inner world, the one shaped by absence, memories, and that single phone call that had rewritten her life story. She moved through her days with more caution than before, as if every step had a weight she never noticed until that moment. Reba threw herself into work because it was the only place where the silence in her heart softened. Music had always been a way for her to express joy, strength, and sometimes heartbreak, but now it became a lifeline. Every rehearsal, every lyric, every note felt different. She was no longer singing from imagination. She was singing from experience, real experience, the kind that leaves a scar. The industry saw her differently after that period. They called her stronger, more polished, even more iconic. What they did not see was the quiet part, the part where she would sit alone backstage, hands folded, reminding herself to breathe, reminding herself that she had been spared for some purpose she could not fully understand yet. Survivors often talk about guilt, and she felt that too. Why was she here when others were not? Why did fate draw this line? Why did it choose her to carry the memories of people she cared for? She went back to writing, which became therapy, a private road toward healing. Her albums during this era carried a soft ache beneath the surface, a maturity that made them timeless. Fans connected with her music in a deeper way. They felt the honesty. They felt the vulnerability. They felt the human being behind the superstar. Friendships changed too. Some people stepped closer to her, understanding what she had been through. Others stepped away, unsure how to approach her grief. But she learned to embrace those who stayed with her through the difficult moments, the ones who understood that healing cannot be rushed, that grief does not run on a schedule, and that life after tragedy moves in uneven steps. As she continued performing, she also started speaking more openly about struggle, faith, and resilience. She became a symbol to many, someone who walked through unimaginable loss, yet continued forward with grace. People who had faced their own tragedies would come to her shows, holding signs and letters, hoping she would know that her strength had inspired theirs. That phone call, the one that had broken her world, eventually shaped her mission in life. She used her platform to remind others that every day is fragile, that love should never be delayed, and that even the strongest people need support. This transformation was not loud or dramatic. It was steady, patient, and grounded. Years later, when she looked back at that night, she realized something powerful. Pain had pushed her toward a deeper understanding of herself. It forced her to slow down, to recognize her limits, to appreciate moments she once rushed through. It taught her empathy in a way nothing else could. And even though she would never wish that night on anyone, she acknowledged that it carved a new version of her, one built from both heartbreak and hope. In time, she learned to carry the memory of what she lost not as a burden, but as a reminder to live fully, a reminder to love fiercely, a reminder to honor the people who never got another chance. This was her transformation, not the kind created by fame or success, but the kind shaped by life itself. If you step back and look at Reba's journey, one message becomes clear. No matter how famous someone is, no matter how bright the spotlight shines on them, they are still human. They still face moments that shake them, moments they never forget. Her story shows that every person, even icons who seem invincible, carry pain and memories that shape their path. The first lesson is about awareness. Life can change in a single moment, sometimes without warning. Reba reminds us that the people we care about are more important than the things we chase. Work, success, dreams, all of it matters, but none of it replaces genuine connections. She learned that lesson in the hardest way imaginable, through a phone call that divided her life into a before and after. The second lesson is resilience. Tragedy does not disappear, but it can be transformed. She did not run from her sorrow, she walked through it. Slowly, carefully, day by day. She used her voice, her art, her courage to build something meaningful from heartbreak. That is a message viewers can carry with them, because everyone will face their own version of a life-changing moment. The third lesson is empathy. You never know what someone else is carrying inside them. Reba continued performing, smiling, winning awards. But behind all that, she was healing from a loss that would follow her forever. Her journey reminds us to be gentle with others, to be patient, and to understand that the strongest people might be fighting battles you cannot see. The final lesson is gratitude. Moments are fragile. People are irreplaceable. Reba teaches us to hold tight to the people we love, to say the words we often delay, to appreciate the time we have. Because one day, one phone call can change everything. Reba's story is not just a story about tragedy. It is a story about survival, courage, and the human ability to rise again after the world falls apart. What happened on that night changed her life forever, yet it also revealed the depth of her strength. It shaped her into the artist, the woman, and the symbol she eventually became. Her journey shows that pain does not define a person, it refines them. It brings forward truths they never noticed, strength they never used, and compassion they never practiced before. Reba walked through loss with honesty and grace, and through that journey, she continued to touch the world with her voice and her story. As the years passed, the memory of that night remained a part of her, but it no longer controlled her. Instead, it guided her. reminding her of what truly mattered. And through her music and her message, she continues to reach those who have faced their own heartbreaking moments. In the end, her life teaches us this: no matter how dark a moment feels, the story does not stop there. Healing will come, light will return, and even in the deepest sorrow, there is a path forward. Reba found hers, and through her story, she reminds us that we can find ours too.
Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into Hollywood's hidden history.